This video is going to demonstrate how to set up the DJI Ronin in 2 to 3 minutes from the time you park your car to the time you start shooting. The key to this technique is to attach a bike rack to your car and keep the Ronin built up as much as possible. If you don't already have a bike rack, you can generally pick them up for under $40. First, I'll position and lock down my monitor. DJI includes the clamp, but not the articulating arm. I purchased an inexpensive arm from eBay for about $15. Next, I'll slide the camera onto the Ronin with a quick release plate. I've used an aftermarket quick release plate here since I find it quicker to lock down than DJI's included one. Balancing took about 30 seconds. Now, I power up the Ronin so I have a stable base to attach the rest of the cables to the camera. I'll usually already have the HDMI cable and cable tether already attached, but I'll go through these steps for the video. I attach the monitor cable to the HDMI port, then flip up a cable stopper since HDMI connections aren't the strongest. In this case, the camera cage came with a cable tether. To really ensure I don't damage the camera's HDMI port, I attach a jerk stopper to the top of the camera and secure the cable inside of it. Finally, I connect the cable to the monitor. To finish up, I attach a link controller to the camera. This will allow me to start and stop the camera, as well as change focus, without ever taking my hands off the handlebars. If you've never used a gimbal before, it's kind of like using a Steadicam. Walk with your knees bent to try and take out as much of the vertical bounce as possible. It's always a good idea to walk your path beforehand to see if anything on the ground will trip you up. Unlike a Steadicam, your shoulders and waist aren't going to be taking the weight of the rig, so after a while, your arms are going to get sore. These stabilizers are pretty good at taking unintentional roll, pan, and tilt out of shots. I've got a pretty low threshold programmed into the Ronin, so it follows what I do when I get a few degrees off axis. One of the biggest disadvantages to current stabilizers is they won't counter vertical or horizontal bounce. I found the further the camera is away from foreground objects, the smoother the shot's going to look. As you see in this shot here, the foreground's really close to the camera, and as I walk, you notice the camera bouncing up and down. When the camera's further away from the foreground, your audience doesn't really have anything to judge how much the camera's really bouncing up and down. If you really want to make use of foreground objects, treat the gimbal like a slider. Plan for short moves and only use your arms to move the gimbal. Once you've got the basics figured out and you want to start using this on jobs, it's helpful to have a wireless monitoring solution. I've gone with an Arrow Paralinx Plus. This is only an HDMI solution, so if your camera uses SDI, you'll need the crossbow or third-party adapter. In addition to the Paralinx, you'll need a USB battery solution or a P-tap power supply. I've gone with USB battery packs. The transmitter can run off 1 amp, but the receiver needs a power pack that can supply 2.1 amps from a USB port. For the receiver, I've used a lime fuel battery. Here's a wide shot showing the entire setup with 2 monitors, 1 on camera and 1 wireless. For the transmitter, the HDMI cable goes from the camera to an unpowered HDMI splitter. From the splitter, 1 cable continues to the monitor and the other port plugs straight into the Paralinx transmitter. The transmitter is Velcro to the battery and the battery is Velcroed to the Ronin. The receiver setup is pretty much the same as the transmitter. The battery supplying 2.1 amps is attached to the monitor, and the receiver is fastened to the battery. An HDMI cable plugs straight in from the Paralinx to the monitor. Now someone can remotely operate the Ronin. You can see in this shot there's virtually no lag in the wireless system.